1. Alright, let's dive a little deeper into this 1962 Mercury Comet, shall we? First off, can we just take a moment to appreciate the fact that this car has been around for over 60 years? That's right, this Comet has seen it all, from the rise of rock and roll to the moon landing and everything in between. It's a true piece of American history. Now I know what some of you might be thinking, but wait, it needs work. And you're right, it does. But that's what makes it such an exciting opportunity. Imagine being able to say that you brought a classic car back to life with your own two hands. That's the kind of pride that money can't buy. Let's talk about some of the specific features of this Comet. It's got a 6-cylinder engine, which was pretty standard for cars of that era. And with rear-wheel drive, you know it's going to be a fun ride. Plus, it's a coupe, so it's got that classic, sporty look that never goes out of style. Now, I want to be clear, this car isn't for everyone. It's going to take some work to get it back in tip-top shape. But for the right person, someone who loves a challenge and has a passion for classic cars, it could be an absolute dream come true. And think about it. Once you've got it all fixed up, you'll be turning heads everywhere you go. You'll be the talk of the town, cruising around in your vintage Mercury Comet. It's the kind of car that has a story to tell, and you'll be the one telling it. So, if you're up for a project and you've got $9,000 burning a hole in your pocket, why not take a chance on this 1962 Mercury Comet? It may not be perfect, but it's got a whole lot of soul. And in the end, isn't that what really matters? 2. We've got a real treat for you, a 1956 Oldsmobile 88 that's up for grabs on Craigslist. This beauty is priced at $13,500, and let me tell you, it's worth every penny. First off, can we just take a moment to appreciate the fact that this car has been in the same family since it was brand new? That's right, this Oldsmobile has been cherished and cared for by one family for over 60 years. And it shows. This car has had a complete restoration back in 1999, and it's all factory original. Under the hood, you'll find a powerful 324 V8 engine that's paired with an automatic transmission. And with rear-wheel drive, you know this car is going to be a blast to drive. It's the kind of car that will make you feel like you're in a classic movie, cruising down the highway with the wind in your hair. Now, I want to be straight with you. While the seller says the car runs and drives well, there are a few things to keep in mind. The tires may look great, but they're actually pretty old and will need to be replaced soon. That's just something to factor into your budget if you're seriously considering this car. But let's talk about the good stuff. This Oldsmobile is a true California car, which means no rust. That's a huge selling point for any classic car, and it's a testament to how well this car has been cared for over the years. Plus, it's got a clean title and current registration on non-operation through the DMV, so you know everything is on the up and up. Aesthetically, this car is a real stunner. It's a two-door hardtop with a gorgeous red paint job that's sure to turn heads wherever you go. And with only 80,000 miles on the odometer, it's got plenty of life left in it. So, if you're in the market for a classic car with a ton of history and character, this 1956 Oldsmobile 88 might just be the one for you. It's not perfect, but it's got a whole lot of heart, and it's ready for its next adventure. 3. Alright, let's dive a little deeper into this 1985 Chevrolet Corvette, shall we? First off, can we just take a moment to appreciate the fact that this car is a true piece of American automotive history? The Corvette has been an icon of the sports car world for decades, and the C4 generation is a perfect example of why. With its sleek modern design and powerful performance, it's no wonder that the C4 Corvette has such a devoted following. Now, let's talk a bit more about the specific features of this particular car. As I mentioned earlier, it's got an L98 V8 engine under the hood. For those who may not be familiar, the L98 is a 5.7-liter engine that was introduced in 1985 and was used in the Corvette until 1991. It's known for its impressive power output and durability, making it a popular choice among Corvette enthusiasts. The automatic transmission in this car is also worth noting. While some sports car purists may prefer a manual gearbox, there's no denying the convenience and ease of use that comes with an automatic. Plus, with the advanced technology of the C4 Corvette's transmission, you can still expect quick, smooth shifts and plenty of power when you need it. Now let's talk about the modifications that have been made to this car. While some folks may be hesitant to buy a car that's been modified, I actually think it can be a great opportunity to get a vehicle that's been tailored to your specific tastes. The seller doesn't go into too much detail about the specific mods that have been made, but they do mention changes to the wheels, engine, exhaust, body, and paint. Depending on the quality of the work that's been done, these modifications could actually add value to the car. Of course, as with any used car purchase, it's important to do your due diligence before making a final decision. I always recommend getting a thorough inspection from a trusted mechanic, just to make sure there aren't any hidden issues that could cause problems down the road. But overall, based on the information provided in the ad, this 1985 Chevrolet Corvette seems like a great opportunity for any sports car enthusiast. With its iconic design, powerful performance, and unique modifications, it's the kind of car that's sure to turn heads and put a smile on your face every time you get behind the wheel. So, if you're in the market for a classic American sports car with plenty of character, don't sleep on this C4 Corvette. At just $8,000 or your best reasonable offer, it's a deal that's hard to beat. 4. We've got a real gem up for grabs on Craigslist. A beautifully restored 1977 Pontiac Firebird Esprit Skybird, and it can be yours for just $14,300. Now, let's talk about what makes this car so special. First off, it's incredibly rare. Only 4,000 of these Skybirds were ever produced, making it a highly collectible vehicle. But what's even more impressive is the condition it's in. The seller describes it as being in excellent condition, and based on the details provided, I'm inclined to believe them. Under the hood, you'll find the original 350 Pontiac engine, which is a real rarity in these cars. Many Firebirds from this era came with Chevy engines, which can be a real turnoff for Pontiac enthusiasts. But not this one. It's all original, numbers matching, and ready to roll. The car has been meticulously maintained by a previous Pontiac dealership mechanic, so you know it's been in good hands. The seller even mentions that there's a maintenance schedule included, so you can keep up with all the necessary upkeep moving forward. Aesthetically, this Firebird is a real stunner. The seller notes that there may be some minor surface discoloration, but overall, the car looks to be in excellent shape. And with just 95,000 miles on the odometer, it's clear that this car has been well cared for over the years. Other notable features include a clean title, smog readiness, and the fact that it's been garage kept by a non-smoker. Plus, the seller mentions that delivery is available, which could be a real convenience for buyers who aren't local. Now, I know that $14,300 might seem like a lot of money for a classic car, but hear me out. When you consider the rarity of this particular model, the excellent condition it's in, and the fact that it's got all its original parts, I actually think it's priced quite fairly. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if this car ends up being a real investment piece for the lucky buyer. Of course, as with any used car purchase, I always recommend getting a thorough inspection from a trusted mechanic before making a final decision. But based on the information provided in the ad, this 1977 Pontiac Firebird Esprit Skybird seems like an excellent opportunity for any collector or enthusiast. So, if you're in the market for a rare, beautifully restored classic car that's ready to hit the road, don't sleep on this one. Give the seller a call, schedule a test drive, and see for yourself what makes this Firebird so special. 5. We've got a real beauty up for grabs on Craigslist, a 1962 Ford Galaxie 500XL, and it can be yours for just $7,000. Now let's talk about what makes this car so special. The Galaxie 500 XL was Ford's top-of-the-line model back in the early 60s, and it's easy to see why. With its sleek, hardtop design and powerful 390Ci engine, this car was built to turn heads and leave a lasting impression. According to the seller, this particular Galaxie is in good condition and runs and drives well. It's got the original, numbers-matching engine and transmission, which is a real plus for collectors and purists. And with just over 75,000 miles on the odometer, it's clear that this car has been well cared for over the years. One of the standout features of this car is the chrome trim. The seller mentions that all the chrome is included and in good shape, which is a real rarity for a car of this age. The fender skirts are also a nice touch, adding to the car's overall vintage aesthetic. The black paint job looks to be in good condition as well, though the seller doesn't mention anything about it specifically, and the glass is said to be in perfect condition, with no cracks or damage to the windshield. Now, I do want to note that while the seller describes the car as being in good condition, there's always the possibility of some minor issues that may not be immediately apparent. As with any used car purchase, I always recommend getting a thorough inspection from a trusted mechanic before making a final decision. But overall, based on the information provided in the ad, this 1962 Ford Galaxie 500 XL seems like a real gem. It's got the original engine and transmission, a sleek hardtop design, and plenty of vintage charm. And at just $7,000, it's priced quite competitively for a car of this caliber. Of course, it's always a good idea to see the car in person and take it for a test drive before making any final decisions. But if you're in the market for a classic American muscle car with plenty of style and character, this Galaxie is definitely worth checking out. So, if you're ready to take a step back in time and experience the thrill of driving a true vintage classic, give the seller a call and schedule a viewing. Who knows, you might just end up driving home in your very own piece of automotive history. 6. We've got a real classic up for grabs on Craigslist. A 1968 Chevrolet Nova, and it can be yours for just $7,500. Now, I want to be upfront with you. This Nova is a project car. It's not in perfect condition, and it's going to need some work to get it back on the road. But for the right buyer, this could be an incredible opportunity to own a piece of American muscle car history. First off, let's talk about the good stuff. This Nova is a California car, which is a big deal for classic car enthusiasts. California cars are known for being relatively rust-free, thanks to the state's dry climate. And while the seller doesn't mention anything specifically about rust, it's still a good sign that this car hails from the Golden State. Under the hood, you'll find a 350 V8 engine paired with a 350 transmission. The seller notes that the engine is currently not running and is sitting in the car. So, if you're looking for a turnkey classic that you can drive off the lot, this might not be the car for you. But if you're up for a bit of a project and have some mechanical skills, this could be a great opportunity to build the Nova of your dreams. The car is priced at $7,500, which seems pretty fair for a project car of this caliber. And the seller is clear that they're motivated to sell, noting that they have too many projects on their hands. So, if you're serious about taking on this Nova, it might be worth making an offer and seeing if you can score a deal. One thing to note, the odometer has rolled over, so the actual mileage of the car is unknown. This is pretty common for classic cars of this age, but it's still something to keep in mind as you're considering your purchase. Aesthetically, the car looks to be in decent shape from the photos provided. It's got a nice blue paint job that looks to be in good condition, though there may be some imperfections that aren't immediately apparent. The interior isn't pictured, so it's hard to say what kind of shape it's in. But again, for a project car, a little wear and tear is to be expected. The seller does mention that the car comes with a clean Colorado title in their name, which is always a good thing, and they're clear that they're not interested in dealing with any scammers or tire kickers. Serious inquiries only, please. Overall, while this 1968 Chevrolet Nova isn't in perfect condition, it's still a really cool project car with a ton of potential. If you're a skilled mechanic or just love the idea of bringing a classic muscle car back to life, this could be the perfect opportunity for you. Just be sure to do your due diligence, get a thorough inspection, and be realistic about the amount of work and money it's going to take to get this baby back on the road. 7. We've got a real beauty up for grabs on Craigslist, a 1955 Mercury Monterey, and it can be yours for just $15,000. Now let's talk about what makes this car so special. The Mercury Monterey was a top-of-the-line model back in the mid-50s, known for its sleek design, spacious interior, and powerful performance. And this particular example seems to have been lovingly restored and maintained over the years. According to the seller, the original motor and transmission have been rebuilt, which is a huge plus. A rebuilt engine and transmission can give you peace of mind, knowing that the car's most important components have been thoroughly inspected and refurbished. And the seller notes that the car drives great with no problems, which is always a good sign. The car's blue paint job looks to be in good condition from the photos provided, though there may be some imperfections that aren't immediately apparent. The seller doesn't go into too much detail about the car's overall condition, but they do describe it as being in good shape. Of course, as with any classic car, it's always a good idea to get a thorough inspection from a trusted mechanic before making a final decision. One thing to note, the odometer is broken, so the actual mileage of the car is unknown. The seller lists the mileage as 80,000, but it's unclear if that's the actual mileage or just an estimate. This is something to keep in mind as you're considering your purchase, as higher mileage can sometimes mean more wear and tear on the car's components. The seller also mentions that the car comes with a clean title in hand, which is always a good thing. And the registration is said to be good for several more years, with antique plates and registration. This can be a real bonus for collectors, as it means you won't have to worry about registering the car or getting it smogged for quite some time. Overall, while the asking price of $15,000 might seem a bit steep at first glance, it's actually pretty reasonable for a fully restored classic car like this. The Mercury Monterey is a highly sought-after model among collectors, and finding one in this condition with a rebuilt engine and transmission is no small feat. Of course, as with any used car purchase, it's always a good idea to see the car in person, take it for a test drive, and have it inspected by a professional before making any final decisions. But based on the information provided in the ad, this 1955 Mercury Monterey seems like a real gem that's definitely worth checking out. So if you're in the market for a classic American car with plenty of style, character, and power, don't sleep on this one. Give the seller a call, schedule a viewing, and see for yourself what makes this Monterey so special. 8. We've got a real treat for you on Craigslist, a 1951 Packard Patrician, and it can be yours for just $6,500. Now, for those who may not be familiar, Packard was one of the most prestigious American luxury car brands of the early to mid-20th century, and the Patrician was their top-of-the-line model, known for its elegant design, spacious interior, and smooth ride. This particular Patrician is a 4-door sedan, which means it's got plenty of room for you and your passengers to stretch out and enjoy the ride. And with its straight-8 flathead engine and 2-speed Ultramatic transmission, you can expect a classic driving experience that's sure to put a smile on your face. According to the seller, this Packard runs and drives well, which is always a good sign for a car of this age. They do note that there's a small exhaust leak by the manifold, but that's a relatively minor issue that can be easily fixed by a competent mechanic. The car's odometer shows just under 78,000 miles, which is pretty low for a vehicle that's over 70 years old. Of course, as with any classic car, it's always a good idea to verify the actual mileage and condition of the car before making a purchase. One of the standout features of this Patrician is its interior, which the seller describes as looking and smelling original. That's a real rarity for a car of this age, and it's a testament to how well this particular example has been cared for over the years. The seller also notes that all the door locks work, which is a small but important detail. It's always nice to know that you can securely lock up your classic car when you're not driving it. Under the hood, you'll find a 6-volt electrical system, which was common for cars of this era. While it may take some getting used to if you're accustomed to modern 12-volt systems, it's all part of the charm of driving a classic car like this. The car comes with a clean Washington title, which is always a good thing. And based on the photos provided, the exterior of the car looks to be in good condition, with a nice, shiny paint job and plenty of classic Packard styling cues. Of course, as with any used car purchase, it's always a good idea to get a thorough inspection from a trusted mechanic before making a final decision. But based on the information provided in the ad, this 1951 Packard Patrician seems like a real gem that's definitely worth checking out. And at just $6,500, it's priced quite competitively for a classic car of this caliber. Sure, it may need a little TLC here and there, but that's all part of the fun of owning a piece of automotive history like this. So, if you're in the market for a classic American luxury car with plenty of style, character, and charm, don't sleep on this one. Give the seller a call, schedule a viewing, and see for yourself what makes this Packard Patrician so special. 9. We've got a real classic up for grabs on Craigslist, a 1983 Chevrolet Camaro Z28, and it can be yours for just $5,500. Now, let's talk about what makes this car so special. The Z28 was the top-of-the-line performance model of the Camaro back in the 80s, known for its aggressive styling, powerful engine, and impressive handling. And this particular example seems to have been well cared for and upgraded over the years. Under the hood, you'll find a 305 V8 engine paired with a 700 R4 automatic transmission. The seller notes that the transmission was recently professionally rebuilt, which is a big plus. A rebuilt transmission can give you peace of mind, knowing that you won't have to worry about any shifting issues or leaks. The car also features a set of IROC 16 wheels, which give it a sporty, aggressive look. And with new Cooper 245 tires that have less than 300 miles on them, you can expect a smooth, confident ride. Other recent upgrades include new ignition components and a new alternator, which are important for ensuring reliable starting and charging. The seller also mentions that the car has a dual exhaust system and a mild cam, which likely give it a nice, throaty sound and a bit of extra power. Now, I do want to note that while the seller describes the car as being in good condition, they do mention a few minor issues. There are a few surface rust spots, but nothing major, and the interior is missing the headliner, which is a relatively easy fix if you're handy with upholstery. The odometer has also rolled over, so the actual mileage of the car is unknown. The seller lists the mileage as 157,000, but it's unclear if that's the actual mileage or just an estimate based on the rollover. As with any high-mileage car, it's important to get a thorough inspection from a trusted mechanic before making a purchase. One thing I really like about this car is its history. The seller mentions that they bought it from the original owners, which is always a good sign. It suggests that the car has been well cared for and maintained over the years, rather than being passed around from owner to owner. The seller is asking $5,500 for the car, which seems like a pretty fair price for a classic Z28 in this condition. They're not interested in trades as they need the cash for a home remodel. So if you're serious about taking this Camaro home, be prepared to pay in cash or with a cashier's check. Overall, while this 1983 Chevrolet Camaro Z28 may not be in perfect condition, it still seems like a really solid car with a lot of potential. With its recent upgrades, classic styling, and impressive performance, it's the kind of car that's sure to turn heads and put put a smile on your face every time you get behind the wheel. And 10. We've got a real classic up for grabs on Craigslist. A 1971 Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme, and it can be yours for just $15,000. Now let's talk about what makes this car so special. The Cutlass Supreme was one of the most popular models in the Oldsmobile lineup back in the 70s, known for its sleek styling, comfortable interior, and powerful performance. And this particular example seems to have a lot of potential for the right buyer. According to the seller, the car runs and drives well, which is always a good sign for a classic car. They do note that it needs some TLC, but that it would make a great project car for someone who's willing to put in the work. The car's red paint job looks to be in decent condition from the photos provided, though there may be some imperfections that aren't immediately apparent. The seller doesn't go into too much detail about the car's overall condition, but they do describe it as being in good shape. Under the hood, you'll find a powerful 8-cylinder engine, which was a common choice for muscle cars of this era. The seller doesn't specify which engine it is, but based on the year and model, it's likely either a 350 or 455 cubic inch V8. Either way, you can expect plenty of power and performance from this classic Olds. The car also features a smooth shifting automatic transmission, which makes it easy to drive and enjoy. And with just 77,000 miles on the odometer, it's clear that this Cutlass has been well cared for over the years. Now, I do want to note that while the seller describes the car as being in good condition, they also mention that it needs some TLC. This could mean anything from minor cosmetic issues to more significant mechanical problems. As with any classic car purchase, it's always a good idea to get a thorough inspection from a trusted mechanic before making a final decision. The seller also mentions that they don't really want to sell the car, but that they have other plans and won't have room or time for it. This suggests that they may be open to negotiation on the price, especially if you're a serious buyer who's willing to give the car the attention it needs. Overall, while this 1971 Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme may not be in perfect condition, it still seems like a really solid car with a lot of potential. With its classic styling, powerful engine, and comfortable interior, it's the kind of car that's sure to turn heads and put a smile on your face every time you get behind the wheel. Of course, as with any used car purchase, it's always a good idea to see the car in person, take it for a test drive, and have it inspected by a professional before making any final decisions. But based on the information provided in the ad, this Cutlass seems like a real gem that's definitely worth checking out. So, if you're in the market for a classic American muscle car with plenty of style, character, and potential, don't sleep on this one. Give the seller a call, schedule a viewing, and see for yourself what makes this Cutlass so special. 11. We've got a real gem up for grabs on Craigslist, a 1957 Ford Ranchero, and it can be yours for just $12,500. Now, let's talk about what makes this car so special. The Ranchero was Ford's answer to the Chevrolet El Camino, combining the utility of a pickup truck with the style and comfort of a classic car. And this particular example has been upgraded and customized to make it even more unique and exciting. Under the hood, you'll find a powerful 302 V8 engine with a 4-barrel carb and headers, paired with a 4-speed manual transmission. The seller notes that the transmission shifts smoothly with no grinding or popping out of gear, which is always a good sign. But that's not all. This Ranchero has been set up with some seriously cool features. It's got an alarm system with a kill switch so you can rest easy, knowing your classic ride is safe and secure. It also has air shocks and was set up to pull a 22-foot Shasta trailer, so it's ready for all your weekend adventures. One of the coolest features of this Ranchero is the dual fuel tank setup. It's got a 20-gallon main tank and an extra 15-gallon tank, so you can switch between them while driving and go even longer between fill-ups. The seller even includes a video that shows you how to work all the switches and features, so you'll be an expert in no time. Now, I do want to note that while the seller describes the car as running and driving well, they also mention some rust on the body, particularly on the tailgate and door. They say they like the look of the patina, but if you're not a fan of rust, this may not be the car for you. As with any classic car purchase, it's always a good idea to get a thorough inspection from a trusted mechanic before making a final decision. Aesthetically, this Ranchero has a really cool, vintage look. The seller notes that it comes with your choice of wheels and tires, so you can customize it to your liking. And with no smog checks ever needed, you can enjoy this classic ride without any hassle. Overall, while this 1957 Ford Ranchero may not be in perfect condition, it still seems like a really solid car with a ton of character and potential. With its powerful engine, unique features, and classic styling, it's the kind of car that's sure to turn heads and put a smile on your face every time you get behind the wheel. 12. We've got a real beauty up for grabs on Craigslist, a 1969 Ford LTD formal sedan, and it can be yours for just $8,500. Now, let's talk about what makes this car so special. First off, it's a true piece of automotive history. The seller is only the second owner, and their mother was the original owner who purchased it brand new back in November of 1968. That's over 50 years of careful ownership and maintenance. Under the hood, you'll find a powerful 428 V8 engine paired with an FMX automatic transmission. This was a top-of-the-line powertrain option back in the day, and it's sure to provide plenty of smooth, effortless acceleration. The car also comes equipped with a host of desirable features, including air conditioning, power steering, power disc brakes, an AM/FM radio, an electric clock, and even a power seat. But what really sets this LTD apart is the level of care and attention it's received over the years. The seller notes that almost everything has been replaced with new or remanufactured parts in the last 2 years, including a rebuilt engine and transmission, a complete suspension overhaul, new braking assemblies front and rear, a new rear differential and axles, and much more. This is the kind of comprehensive restoration that you rarely see on a car of this age, and it's a testament to the seller's dedication and passion for the vehicle. Aesthetically, this LTD is a real stunner. It's finished in a gorgeous Brittany blue iridium paint with a black vinyl top and interior, a classic color combination that really pops. The seller notes that the body is in perfect condition with no rust anywhere, which is a real rarity for a car of this age. Other nice touches include an extended range fuel tank, perfect for those long road trips, front and rear sway bars, and a rear panhard rod for improved handling and stability. The car also comes with its original owner's manual and dealer sales brochure, which are great pieces of memorabilia for any collector. Now, I do want to note that while the seller describes the car as running and driving smoothly, it does have 132,000 miles on the odometer. That's not necessarily a bad thing. Many classic cars have far more miles than that and still run great, but it's something to keep in mind as you're considering your purchase. As with any used car, it's always a good idea to get a thorough inspection from a trusted mechanic before making a final decision. Overall though, this 1969 Ford LTD formal sedan seems like an absolutely incredible find. With its powerful engine, comprehensive restoration, and stunning good looks, it's the kind of car that's sure to turn heads and put a smile on your face every time you get behind the wheel. So, if you're in the market for a true piece of American automotive history that's been lovingly cared for and restored to an incredibly high standard, don't sleep on this one. Give the seller a call, schedule a viewing, and see for yourself what makes this LTD so special. 13. We've got a real blast from the past up for grabs on Craigslist, a 1984 Pontiac Firebird, and it can be yours for just $4,000 or your best offer. Now, let's talk about what makes this car so special. The Firebird has been an icon of American muscle cars since the 1960s, and the third-generation model, which includes this 1984 example, is a true classic. With its sleek aerodynamic styling and pop-up headlights, it's a car that's sure to turn heads wherever you go. This particular Firebird is a special edition model with T-tops, which means you can pop open the roof and enjoy the sunshine and fresh air while you're cruising down the road. It's finished in a classic red color that really pops, and the seller describes it as being in great condition overall. Under the hood, you'll find a V6 engine paired with an automatic transmission. While it may not have the raw power of some of the V8 models, this engine is still plenty potent and should provide a fun, engaging driving experience. Plus, with rear-wheel drive, you'll get that classic muscle car feel that's hard to find in modern vehicles. Now, I do want to note a couple of things about this car. First, the odometer has rolled over, so the actual mileage is unknown. The seller lists it as having 26,241 miles, but it's unclear if that's the actual mileage or just what's shown on the odometer. As with any high-mileage car, it's important to get a thorough inspection from a trusted mechanic before making a purchase. Second, the seller notes that the car is currently on non-operational status and will need some minor work to pass smog. This is something to keep in mind if you're planning on using the car as a daily driver, as you'll need to get it up to emissions standards before you can legally drive it on the road. However, the seller describes the needed work as minor, so it may not be a huge obstacle for the right buyer. Overall, though, this 1984 Pontiac Firebird seems like a really solid car with a lot of potential. With its classic styling, T-top roof, and fun driving dynamics, it's the kind of car that's sure to put a smile on your face every time you get behind the wheel. Of course, as with any used car purchase, it's always a good idea to see the car in person, take it for a test drive, and have it inspected by a professional before making any final decisions. But based on the information provided in the ad, this Firebird seems like a great opportunity for any enthusiast looking for a fun, affordable classic car. So, if you're ready to experience the thrill of driving an iconic American muscle car, don't sleep on this one. Give the seller a call, schedule a viewing, and see for yourself what makes this Firebird so special. 14. We've got a real gem up for grabs on Craigslist, a 1968 Ford Galaxy XL500 convertible, and it can be yours for $15,000 or your best offer. Now let's talk about what makes this car so special. The Galaxy was Ford's full-size offering back in the 1960s, and the XL500 was the top-of-the-line model. This particular example is a convertible, which means you can drop the top and enjoy the sunshine and fresh air while you're cruising down the road. Under the hood, you'll find a beefy 390 cubic inch V8 engine, which should provide plenty of power and torque for a fun, engaging driving experience. The car also features a smooth shifting automatic transmission and rear-wheel drive, which is the classic setup for American muscle cars of this era. Aesthetically, this Galaxy is a real stunner. It's just had a brand new $8,000 paint job in a gorgeous burgundy red color that really pops in the sunlight. The seller also notes that it has a brand new battery, so you shouldn't have any trouble firing it up and hitting the road. Now, I do want to note a couple of things about this car. First, the seller mentions that the convertible top needs some repair work. This is a common issue with older convertibles, and it's something to keep in mind as you're budgeting for the car. Depending on the extent of the damage, a new convertible top can be a significant expense. Second, the seller notes that the car needs some finishing touches. They don't go into a lot of detail about what exactly this entails, but it's something to keep in mind as you're considering the purchase. It's always a good idea to get a thorough inspection from a trusted mechanic before making any final decisions on a classic car. That being said, the seller does note that the car runs and drives as is, which is a good sign. It suggests that the mechanical components are in good working order, even if there are some cosmetic issues to address. Overall, though, This 1968 Ford Galaxie XL 500 convertible seems like a really solid car with a ton of potential. With its powerful engine, classic styling, and brand new paint job, it's the kind of car that's sure to turn heads and put a smile on your face every time you take it out for a spin. 15. We've got an absolute stunner up for grabs on Craigslist, a 1983 Cadillac Eldorado, and it can be yours for $14,500. Now, let's talk about what makes this car so special. The Eldorado was Cadillac's top-of-the-line personal luxury car back in the 1980s, and it was known for its sleek styling, powerful engine, and opulent interior. This particular example seems to have been incredibly well cared for over the years, and it shows in every detail. First off, can we talk about that mileage? The odometer shows just 28,777 miles, which is incredibly low for a car that's nearly 40 years old. The seller notes that this is a one-owner car, which suggests that it's been lovingly maintained by someone who really appreciated its value. Under the hood, you'll find a 4.1L V8 HT4 engine, which was a common power plant for Cadillacs of this era. The seller notes that the car runs excellently, which is a testament to the care and attention it's received over the years. But what really sets this Eldorado apart is its condition. The seller describes it as being in mint condition, with a perfect brown, soft leather interior and an exterior that's a 9.5 out of 10. The car also features a Landau vinyl top that's in perfect condition, as well as power windows, locks, and seats. Other notable features include new tires, a new battery, and all the original owner's manuals. The seller even notes that the car was originally purchased at Torrance Cadillac, which is a cool bit of provenance for any collector. Now, I know that $14,500 might seem like a lot of money for a car from the 1980s, but hear me out. When you consider the incredibly low mileage, the pristine condition, and the fact that this is a one-owner car, it starts to look like a really solid investment. Cadillacs of this era are becoming increasingly collectible, and finding one in this kind of condition is getting harder and harder. Of course, as with any used car purchase, it's always a good idea to get a thorough inspection from a trusted mechanic before making any final decisions. But based on the information provided in the ad, this 1983 Cadillac Eldorado seems like an absolute gem that's sure to turn heads and appreciate in value over time. The seller does note that they're open to possible trades, so if you've got something cool in your garage that you're looking to swap, it might be worth reaching out. Just be sure to have your ducks in a row and be prepared to make a serious offer. A car like this is sure to generate a lot of interest from collectors and enthusiasts alike. So, if you're in the market for a true piece of American luxury car history that's been impeccably maintained and preserved, don't sleep on this one. Give the seller a shout via email, schedule a viewing, and see for yourself what makes this Eldorado so special. 16. We've got a real gem up for grabs on Craigslist. A 1984 Chrysler LeBaron convertible, and it can be yours for just $3,900. Now, I've got to be honest with you. When I first saw this listing, I wasn't sure what to expect. I mean, a LeBaron from the 80s? How cool could that really be? But then I saw the pictures, and let me tell you, this car is an absolute stunner. First off, can we talk about that color? The bright, vibrant red just screams summertime fun. And with the white convertible top, it's got that classic, timeless look that never goes out of style. The seller even mentions that it's got its original blue California license plate, which is a really cool touch. But what really sets this LeBaron apart is its condition. The seller describes it as a true time capsule, and based on the photos, I'm inclined to believe them. The car looks absolutely pristine, inside and out. The interior is spotless, with no visible wear or tear on the seats or dashboard. And the exterior is just as clean, with no dents, dings, or rust to be seen. Under the hood, you'll find a turbo engine that the seller says runs great. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that a LeBaron is going to win any drag races. But with a turbo engine, you can expect some peppy performance and a fun driving experience. Plus, with the top down and the wind in your hair, who cares about speed? Other notable features include a power top, which is a must-have for any convertible, and the original radio, which is a cool bit of nostalgia. The seller also notes that the car has just 77,000 miles on the odometer, which is relatively low for a car of this age. Now, I know that some folks might scoff at the idea of spending nearly $4,000 on a LeBaron from the 80s. But here's the thing. Cars like this are becoming increasingly rare and collectible. And when you find one in this kind of condition, with this kind of low mileage, it's definitely worth taking a closer look. Of course, as with any used car purchase, it's always a good idea to get a thorough inspection from a trusted mechanic before making any final decisions. But based on the information provided in the ad, this 1984 Chrysler LeBaron convertible seems like an absolute gem that's sure to turn heads and put a smile on your face every time you take it out for a spin. And let's be real, is there anything better than cruising around on a warm summer day with the top down and your favorite tunes blasting on the radio? I don't think so. This LeBaron is the perfect summer ride, and it's just waiting for someone to come along and give it the love and attention it deserves. 17. We've got a real beauty up for grabs on Craigslist. A 1976 Mercury Grand Marquis, and it can be yours for just $6,500. Now, let's talk about what makes this car so special. First off, it's a rare two-door model, which is pretty hard to find these days. Most Grand Marquis from this era were four-door sedans, so finding a coupe like this is a real treat. And with its beautiful two-tone paint job, it's sure to turn heads wherever you go. But what really sets this Grand Marquis apart is what's under the hood. It's got a massive 460 cubic inch V8 engine, which was the biggest engine available in this car at the time. And get this, it's got dual exhaust from the factory, which is a really cool and rare feature. You can just imagine the kind of deep, throaty rumble this thing puts out when you step on the gas. The seller has owned this car for 3 summers now, and it's clear that they've taken really good care of it. They mention that they've done a ton of work on the car, including all the big stuff, so you can rest assured that it's in good mechanical shape. And when they're not driving it, they keep it stored in a garage to protect it from the elements. But the real kicker is the mileage. This Grand Marquis has just 67,900 miles on the odometer, which is incredibly low for a car that's over 40 years old. The seller mentions that the previous owner had the car since 1991 and kept it garaged year-round, which explains the low mileage and excellent condition. Aesthetically, this car is a real stunner. The brown paint job is in great shape, and the interior looks to be in excellent condition as well. The seller doesn't mention anything about the car's flaws or imperfections, so it's safe to assume that it's in pretty darn good shape overall. Now, I know that $6,500 might seem like a lot of money for an old Mercury, but hear me out. Cars like this are becoming increasingly rare and collectible, especially in this kind of condition with this kind of low mileage. And with its unique features like the two-door body style and factory dual exhaust, this Grand Marquis is sure to stand out at any car show or cruise-in. Of course, as with any used car purchase, it's always a good idea to get a thorough inspection from a trusted mechanic before making any final decisions. But based on the information provided in the ad, this 1976 Mercury Grand Marquis seems like an absolute gem that's sure to make any classic car enthusiast weak in the knees. The seller does mention that they're looking for serious responses only, and that they want the car to go to a good home. So if you're the kind of person who appreciates a rare and unique classic car and is willing to give it the love and attention it deserves, this might just be the perfect ride for you. 18. Alright, let's dive a little deeper into this 1967 Buick Skylark, shall we? This car is a true testament to the craftsmanship and style of the era. The Buick Skylark was first introduced in 1953 as a limited production vehicle, but it really hit its stride in the 1960s when it became a more mainstream model. The 67 Skylark was part of the second generation of the model, which ran from 1964 to 1967, and it's easy to see why it was so popular. One of the standout features of this particular Skylark is its custom paint job. While the seller doesn't specify exactly what color it is, you can bet it's going to be eye-catching and unique. Whether you're a fan of classic colors like cherry red or sleek black, or you prefer something a little more daring like a metallic blue or green, this Skylark is sure to make a statement. Under the hood, the 2.25 cubic inch V6 engine is no slouch either. While it may not have the raw power of some of the larger V8 engines of the era, it still provides plenty of get up and go for cruising around town or hitting the open road. Plus, with a 6-cylinder engine, you'll likely get better fuel economy than you would with a bigger engine, which is always a plus. The interior of the car is just as impressive as the exterior. The Skylark was known for its comfortable, spacious cabin, and this one looks to be no exception. The seller doesn't provide any photos of the interior, but based on the excellent condition of the exterior, it's safe to assume that the inside is just as well maintained. You can imagine yourself sliding into the driver's seat, gripping the steering wheel, and feeling the rumble of the engine as you hit the gas. Of course, as with any classic car, there are a few things to keep in mind before making a purchase. While the seller claims the car is in excellent condition, it's always a good idea to have a trusted mechanic take a look at it before handing over any money. They can check for any potential issues or areas that may need attention, so you know exactly what you're getting into. Another thing to consider is the cost of maintenance and repairs. While this Skylark may be in great shape now, classic cars do require a bit more TLC than modern vehicles. You'll want to make sure you have a reliable mechanic who knows their way around classic cars and be prepared to invest a little extra time and money into keeping it running smoothly. But for the right buyer, this 1967 Buick Skylark could be the perfect addition to their collection or a fun weekend cruiser. It's a chance to own a piece of American automotive history and experience the thrill of driving a classic car. And with a price tag of $14,500 or best offer, it's a relatively affordable way to get into the classic car game. So, what do you think? Is this 1967 Buick Skylark the car of your dreams? If so, don't hesitate to reach out to the seller and start the conversation. Who knows? You could be cruising down the road in this beauty before you know it. And if you're a fan of classic cars, be sure to keep an eye out for more great finds like this one on Craigslist and beyond. 19. We've got a real treat for you. A 1974 Dodge Dart that's up for grabs on Craigslist for just $15,000. This classic sedan is a true beast on the road, and it's sure to turn heads wherever you go. Let's start with the heart of this beast. A big block 440 engine that's sure to get your adrenaline pumping, paired with a 727 torque flight transmission and a 410 rear end. This Dart has the power to take on anything the road throws at it. And with a 530 comp cam and hooker headers in the fender wells, you know this thing means business. But it's not just about raw power. The seller has also made sure this Dart is in top shape mechanically. They've recently replaced the alternator, starter, carburetor, fuel pump, and battery, so you can be sure everything is running smoothly under the hood. And with new tires and a new sound system, this Dart is ready to hit the road in style. Speaking of style, just take a look at that sleek, black paint job. It's the perfect complement to the Dart's classic lines and aggressive stance. And with just 81,000 miles on the odometer, this car has plenty of life left in it. Now, the seller does note that the car is in good condition, which is a bit vague. It's always a good idea to inspect the car in person and have a trusted mechanic take a look at it before making a purchase. But based on the detailed description and the recent upgrades, it seems like this Dart has been well taken care of. Of course, as with any classic car, there are a few things to keep in mind. Parts for a 1974 Dodge Dart may not be as readily available as they are for newer models, so you'll want to make sure you have a reliable source for any replacement parts you may need down the line. And while the 440 engine is certainly powerful, it may not be the most fuel-efficient choice for daily driving. But if you're looking for a classic car with serious muscle and plenty of style, this 1974 Dodge Dart is definitely worth checking out. With a clean title and a price tag of just $15,000, it's a great opportunity to own a piece of American automotive history. 20. We've got a real treat for you. A 1979 Lincoln Town Coupe that's up for grabs on Craigslist for just $6,000. This classic luxury coupe is a true time capsule, and it's sure to turn heads wherever you go. First things first, let's talk about the condition of this beauty. According to the seller, the car is in excellent shape overall, with no rust and a body that's straight as an arrow. That's pretty impressive for a car that's over 40 years old. It's clear that this Lincoln has been well taken care of over the years, with just 88,000 miles on the odometer and a history of being stored in a garage. Under the hood, you'll find a beefy 400 cubic inch engine that's paired with an automatic transmission. This combo is sure to provide plenty of power and smooth shifting, making for a comfortable and effortless driving experience. And with rear-wheel drive, you'll feel connected to the road in a way that's hard to find in modern cars. But of course, no car is perfect, and the seller does note a couple of areas that need attention. The Landau top, that's the vinyl covering over the rear half of the roof, needs replacing, which is a pretty common issue with these old Lincolns. And the driver's wing window needs some work too, though the seller doesn't specify exactly what the problem is. Still, those are relatively minor issues in the grand scheme of things, and they certainly don't detract from the overall appeal of this classic coupe. Just imagine cruising down the road in this thing, with its sleek white paint job and classic lines. It's the kind of car that's sure to get you noticed, and it's a great way to stand out from the crowd of modern cookie-cutter vehicles. Of course, as with any classic car, there are a few things to keep in mind before making a purchase. Parts for a 1979 Lincoln Town Coupe may not be as readily available as they are for newer models, so you'll want to make sure you have a reliable source for any replacement parts you may need down the line. And while the 400 engine is certainly powerful, it may not be the most fuel-efficient choice for daily driving. But if you're looking for a classic luxury car with plenty of style and presence, this 1979 Lincoln Town Coupe is definitely worth checking out. With a clean title and a price tag of just $6,000, it's a great opportunity to own a piece of American automotive history.